I know he doesn't care about this, but it was remiss, or we would be remiss if we didn't address it quickly. Happy belated birthday, Joe, because we didn't know last week.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so now that's out of the way.
Yes, and did the Jets win make you feel good about your birthday?
How you feeling, Joe?
The Jets win was great, but it was definitely tempered by the disgrace of the Mets.
All right, listen, we're starting with the Mets. We'll get to the Jets after.
Now,
it's a Joe Benigno Monday football call-in, so I had to ask.
No, it's both.
Yeah,
it's just
I'm
Joe
pumped
Benigno
about the Jets. I mean, there's no.
Let's stop wasting time. We'll get to the Jets.
Yeah,
Joe, listen.
right.
When we last spoke to you, you went on, and it was good, but I guess it was a little preview of what we're about to get, but the spot was over. We had to go. You gave us about a 30-second snippet, and you even said, I don't have time for this now, or you don't have time, meaning me, to get into what you were saying about the Grom. That's the last communication we've had on the air. So just pick it up from there, and let's go, Joe.
Well, I mean, it's more than just the Grom. I mean, I'm so disgusted with the Mets. I mean, they teased us all year. Let's be real. This team, I actually said this team was the best team since the '86 championship team, and I was completely wrong. I mean, 175 out of 180 days, this team is in first place, and they blew it. And, the Grom didn't get it done. Scherzer didn't get it done. Bassett didn't get it done. Everybody not named Jeff McNeil didn't get it done in this weekend series against the Braves. And let's be honest, bro, anything short of a world championship this year to me is a disappointment. And now who knows what's going to happen? They blew the division. Let's tell it like it is.
Yep.
They blew the freaking division. And I don't want to hear from anybody, they're still in the playoffs and all this nonsense. They have no shot to get to the World Series now, okay? Who knows if they're going to even beat San Diego? The Padres gave them trouble this year. Juan Soto, Machado, all of that. And I know they got all their big pitchers lined up for this, and all the games are at home. But is there any guarantee to winning that series?
No.
And if they win that series, are they going to beat the Dodgers? And let's say by a miracle they beat the Dodgers, I'm going to watch them get embarrassed again by the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS.
Well,
I am.
Joe, hold on. Now, Joe, that's
I am ticked off.
Yeah, I got you. That's 5 steps down the road. Understood. Right. I respect it. Trust me, I get it.
Sorry.
No, trust me. It's all good. That's what we want you for. We want you to be Joe. We don't want you to change who you are. But here's the thing. As you talked about how the starting pitchers disappointed and guys didn't get the job done, you left out, and this is really how I started the show.
Go ahead.
You left out one very important name, and that's Billy Epler. Because you start a Friday night series that's going to determine the divisional title, and you roll out an outfield left to right of Canna, of Nimmo, and Naquin. Yeah. I mean, listen, everybody was fooled by the moves that he made. It was premature praise. Billy Epler needed to make big moves. He did not, period. I blame Billy Epler.
Well,
I do.
Let me say this. The Starling Marte injury really came back to hurt him. I mean, that was a major hit to the Mets. I don't think there's any question about it. This guy was terrific. He was as good as anybody there, really right there with everybody as far as big hits and all of that. So that really came back to hurt him. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But you look, in the beginning with the moves that Epler made when he brought in Vogelback and he brought in Ruff and Naquin, early on it looked good. And Vogelback actually got some big hits yesterday. I mean, he's the one guy last night. He had a home run. He drove in a run. I mean,
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong with what you're saying about Epler. I mean, you saw in this series just how much better the Brave lineup is than the Mets.
Yeah.
And if Pete Alonso and Lindor, let me say this about Lindor. I mean, come on. I mean, I know he's got 25 homers and 103 ribbies, and I know he played a terrific defense. He plays every day. But $35 million for this guy? Where were the big hits from this guy? Let's be real. He stunk in this series. He's got a couple hits, I guess, on Saturday. Big deal, But their lineup pales in comparison. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah,
pales.
But let me ask you this, Joe. If you, at the beginning of the season, before pitch one, and as I asked Hoff this, did you think that that the Mets were beating the Braves in the division?
Yeah, but there's Tiki. That's great. And I if you would have told me before the year, hey, they're going to win 98 games, they're going to be in the playoffs, but the way the year played out, When you're in first place all
I understand
year,
that, but don't you have to?
That changes
But
everything.
here's the thing. BT said this earlier. He said, "Look, Met fans aren't happy at all, right?
How
today.
can you be?
Because you're in the playoffs.
Nope.
And you have a chance.
So
No
they're not
way.
going to the World Series. Tiki, they are not getting
By the way,
through
they've given
San
up 36,
Diego, the Dodgers, and the Braves.
They've
It's not
given up
happening.
36 runs to the Padres. I was just looking this up. 36 runs to
They've
the
had trouble
Padres.
with the
They've
Padres
only
this year.
scored 23.
Right.
They've won
Yu
2 out of
Darvish
the
gave
6
them trouble.
games. Yeah,
Please.
exactly. So, I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that
Absolutely
they're getting
not.
to the Dodgers, who they have the pleasure of playing
And
in
let's
the
be
divisional
honest,
round.
Tiki, if they ever got knocked out in the wild card round, this is an absolute failure of a year.
But isn't
who's kidding who?
But think about the overarching feel of the organization. Forget this season, the organization. Hasn't Billy Epler and Steve Cohen and by extension Buck Showalter, haven't they done a good job?
They've done a good job,
but
it's
not a great
good
job.
enough.
And all of a
It's
sudden,
not
Met
good
fans
enough. They
fans now
fooled
want
us,
to go.
Tiki, we've been fooled.
I know, but Met fans want to go from Met fans, including you, want to go from we are just trying to reach average, like let's get above mediocre, to now we got to be great. Right, that's a big jump, man.
Tiki, they were in first place last year to the middle of July. They blew it last year.
And then they added Scherzer. Then they added Scherzer.
Right, that they added Scherzer, who came up extremely small. Let's be honest, he stunk the other day, and I'm tired of hearing. And that's the other thing; these announcers from you got to hear. I got to see
the
these games
national
on Fox
announcers.
and ESPN.
Yeah, they don't get the nuance. They don't get the nuance of what's going on in locally.
That's a joke too. Oh, Scherzer doesn't have his good stuff. He's battling. He stunk. He didn't get out of the 6th inning. Give me a freaking break. All right.
All right. So we're talking to Joe Benigno.
I mean, give me a break.
Yep. Joe Benigno with us here on the Tiki
and can I
Tierney
say this
show.
too?
Yeah,
can I have
go
one
ahead,
more
Joe.
thing?
Sure.
Every time the Mets, you could go back to the 80s. Every time the Mets are in a close division race, they never win. Whether it was 84, 85, 87, 90, you can go back to 2007, 2008. Anytime they're in a close division race, they never ever winning.
Yeah, man, I never really looked at it that way, but obviously going back to those 80s teams when you guys built it with Darryl and Doc and Keith, you're right. Those now, Whitey Herzog's Cardinals team was pretty damn good, but you're not wrong.
And there was no wild card. And there was no wild cards back then.
Yeah, which by the way, Joe, also impacted the Yankees because the Yankees led the 80s with wins, but you had Toronto with no. Okay, so we're talking to Joe B. Joe, here's what I think, not depressing, but what I think should be disconcerting to Met fans right now. And again, there is a chance DeGrom is right and that Blister's fine and Scherzer's dealing and they win and they get to the NLDS and they lose a competitive series to the Dodgers or maybe stun everybody and win. And within a week or 10 days, the entire tone of our conversation and shows are different. They're still on life support. They're not dead yet. Okay. But here's what would really bother me if I'm a Met fan. There is a real good chance that DeGrom bounces, number one.
He's going.
I tend to agree, Joe.
He's leaving. He don't want to pitch. He don't want to be in New York anymore. He wants out.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that sense, too. Scherzer is not young. We respect him, but he's getting up there, man.
Yep.
So like this borderline great Met season that you've been handed, very like the staples of the season aren't even necessarily going to be a part of the future.
Yeah, and it's not only that. I mean, look, Nimmo's a free agent. Diaz is a free agent. I'm pretty sure Carrasco and Walker are free agents as well. They got a lot of guys. What are you doing with these guys?
You tell us. What would you do?
Chris Bassett.
What would you, Joe? Who do you want back? Well, you can't have them all back. What would you do?
Well, I think you got to bring Nimmo and Diaz back.
Yep.
I think you got to bring Bassett back, especially if DeGrom's going to take off. I think you got to bring him back.
I probably agree with those three. Any issues with Buck the last month or so, Joe?
Any issues with Buck? There's some things, I guess, that can get me a little bit, I know he had a blister, but, going back to Friday night, can DeGrom pitch the 7th inning? It's a 3-1 game, okay?
Yeah.
It's a 3-1 game, and he didn't pitch great, but he wasn't terrible. He gave up 3 solo homers. I got to see Tyler McGill come in the game, who's not a relief pitcher, to basically flush the game immediately after that. Do I need to see that?
Yeah, I mean, they mismanaged that a couple of times with McGill, who they turned into a starter, and his mindset is now as a starter.
He is a starter, Tiki. He's not a relief pitcher.
But they also did it with Peterson, right? They tried to do the same thing. They put him in as a reliever. He gets rocked.
100%.
All right, we got to ask you about the Jets.
Yes,
I said my one takeaway, because I didn't see the game real time, and I was down on Zach. I'm like, this film's going to look terrible. I go back and watch it, and I say, you know what? Zach is actually going to be the guy. Right, he looks okay. Are you
certainly
comfortable?
Looked that way yesterday.
Yeah, you comfortable with where Zach is in his development? Because that's really all that matters for the Jets this season. They could mess around and make the postseason and do whatever, but it's really about, do we got our QB? You feel that you do?
Well, look, I don't want to say definitively off one game, but I'll say this about this team. They got a lot of talent on this team. This team, for the first time, I can't remember, Tiki, the offensive weapons that this team has.
Right.
They got two young stud running backs that, especially Breece Hall looks great. You got Wilson, you got Elijah Moore. Corey Davis, who I've been down on, had his best game ever as a Jet yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, he made big catches. That 4th down catch on 4th and 6, which I thought was the biggest play of the game on the touchdown drive that made it 2017.
And by the way, Joe, real quick, that route that he ran where he went to the outside to the pylon and then brought it back, that was a great route.
Yep.
Great route by Davis there. Keep going.
You're talking about down in the right tight
end. The touchdown.
Yeah. And look, I mean, and the offensive line yesterday is in shambles, and Zach only sacked one time.
I know.
I mean, how many times did we see him? And he made some bad throws. He should have had a touchdown pass to Breece Hall early in the game when he completely underthrew him when he got out of the pocket. There was another one where Garrett Wilson broke it up, or it would have been an interception. But he was running for his life basically for the first 3 quarters of this game. He only got sacked the one time. I mean, if let's be honest. Joe Flacco played this game. They got no shot. I mean,
but I thought you liked Joe Flacco, Joe. You were telling us how much you love Joe Flacco. Don't be turning on us now, Benigno. You're a big Flacco guy.
All I ever said was whoever's going to win games for me is who I want to be the quarterback.
Hey, there you go.
And Wilson to me, he was great. Look, what he did. This game was more impressive than the Cleveland win, because the Cleveland win, even though they made all the plays they had to make at the end of the game, Cleveland basically handed them the game. This is a game they're down 20-10, and they took it from the Steelers. This kid leading 2 touchdown drives with 7-something to go to win the game. And how many penalties? Tiki, how many penalties did they overcome on the touchdown drive that made it 2017? Michael Carter has a penalty, cost him a touchdown. Then one of the offensive linemen's downfield illegally, and they still scored a touchdown. Even on the game-winning touchdown drive, Corey Davis had an illegal block in the back. Yeah. They still overcame that. This is stuff this team never does. And the fact that the offensive line, which I thought in the final quarter actually protected him well. Vera-Tucker playing left tackle was unbelievable. Look, I think you got to be excited. I thought the defense played well. The secondary really had a good game. LaMarcus Joyner had a terrific game.
Finally.
I thought Quinnen Williams really played well, even on that pass where Pickett hit the tight end over the middle to the 2-yard line. I mean, Quinnen just blasted him on that.
Crushed him.
But they got to stop the stupid penalty. Carl Lawson getting that dumb penalty before halftime.
That was Joe. Listen, Joe, I hear that was a little ticky-tack. They could have swallowed that with that flag right there.
I don't disagree, but you know how it is in this league.
Yep.
Okay,
that's fair.
You know how it is. You just can't hit the quarterback. You just can't touch him. If you're a second late, you can't do it.
Well,
and they
Joe,
got to stop doing that.
I know, and it's Joe Benigno with us here on The Fan. We chat with Joe every single Monday at 11:40, which we love, and he's on Saturdays with his buddy Evan, obviously, and he's doing the podcast, All the Pain. No, listen, you keep him busy.
No pain with the Jets, that's for sure.
It's great. Man, listen, Joe, we got to run, but here's the one thing that makes me worry, although I'm not a fatalist.
The coaching staff.
Well, now forget about that.
I'm a little worried about that.
No, I agree, but I'm actually going to get more something that almost transcends these current coaches. Like, how many times have you walked into that stadium, whether it's MetLife or the old Meadowlands, and for you going to Shea as well, back in the day, where the Jets are coming off a galvanizing win, you're worked up, you're feeling good, you walk. I'm not saying that they should beat the Dolphins. They're 3.5-point dogs for a reason, but then they just collapse and they lay in. It is time to play a good game at home.
No question. No, look, I mean, and they got to put. It's to me, it's the mistakes. They got to stop making the stupid penalties, the turnovers. I mean, right before halftime, they're up 10-3. They got a guaranteed field goal. They're on about the 25-yard line of the Steelers. It's 3rd and 10, and I'm yelling before the play. And I was the only one home at this point, but I'm yelling, run the ball here, take the field goal, get out of halftime 13-3. But no, they got to be cute. And of course, Wilson throws the pick, and it eventually, because of the dumb penalty by Lawson, it eventually leads to a field goal. So that's the kind of stuff they got to stop. You know what I mean?
Yes, we do. And again, happy birthday, buddy. Wish we knew last week. We could have said it when it mattered.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
By the way,
Joe.
let's hope the Mets are still playing when I talk to you Monday.
No,
I hope
come
so.
on. They will be.
I
Come
hope
on,
so.
They better
Joe.
be.
Come
No,
on,
they
Joe.
better be.
Joe, we appreciate you, brother. Take care. Have
All right,
a
take
great
care.
week. Talk to
Joe
you soon.
B on the Fan. Thank you, Joe.